Everlasting love made me a Democrat. Unconditional, but you get it that. Count on me, I'll be there. Gifted rap from God to become one and bodies touch to the morning sun.
Hello, this is Matthew.
And I'm Sasha, and you're listening to Crazy Love Stories.
In my therapy practice, I hear some crazy stories.
And as a journalist, I have to tell some of those stories.
We have a great show for you today. I'm going to show you how to find out someone's cheating without doing the digging, the prying, and investigative work.
And it's Valentine's week. Let's talk about proposals.
No, let's not.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Crazy Love Stories is a Simon Says Creative Works production. Our theme music is composed by Jordan J. River. Follow us on Twitter at Crazy Love Stories. That's LUV. For more dating and relationship advice, check out New Perspectives by Matt Phifer. Visit his website at newperspectivesdating.com.
You got your tea ready? Do you have to be so annoying?
Got my tea ready because we're talking about cheating.
Ooh, I get it. Tea? Mm-hmm. You're sipping that tea? You're funny. I've got my cheesecake here. My carrot cheesecake.
Why did you get the cheesecake?
Well, I came home a couple days ago. And it was a very long, stressful day, and I saw on the bed was cheesecake and a note that said, "Every sweet girl has a sweet tooth, and every day is Valentine's Day. I love you, sweetie."
Oh, that was nice.
And
who did that for you?
I thought that was so sweet. It was obviously you.
It's not obvious. You didn't say who it was from.
Needless to say, I was quite pleased and surprised, and I was kind of tired that night, so I put my cheesecake away in the fridge. And so right now, this is my time to like really get into it.
You haven't even picked up on what I've been doing, have you?
What have you been doing?
You haven't noticed any patterns?
Well, of course I did, because last night, for example, I came home and I had a vase full of tulips and another note that said every day is Valentine's Day. Because you're such a sweetie petey. But,
so she doesn't know this clearly, but we've been celebrating Valentine's Day for a week. You've had a week of Valentine's Days.
Really?
And that's the reason why I keep saying every day is a Valentine's Day. And for all the listeners out there, the courtship never ends.
Speaking of Valentine's Day, I want to get into something because we had a conversation earlier this week that I want to pick up again because I'm not really satisfied with where we left things. We talked about the actual day. So tomorrow is February 14th. It is Valentine's Day. And we were talking about our plans. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do. We're, juggling an interesting day where we've got some stuff going on, which we'll tell you about a little bit later in the podcast. And I threw out the idea of lunch just because we're kind of both off.
And I was like, nah, we're not doing lunch.
Wait, let me get to it. Let me tell them. So I threw out the idea of lunch, and because we have the time available and before I go to work in the afternoon, and you shot that down immediately. You did not want to go to lunch. And I'm thinking, it's just lunch. I want to go to lunch. Like, we have the free time. When do you and I ever get to go to lunch, first of all? Second of all, it happens to be Valentine's Day and we're both free at the same time. Why the heck wouldn't we want to spend time together and possibly include a meal? So that's just lunch. And so you had this whole big thing behind it, and then you tried to like schedule a date, our Valentine's date for tonight, Monday the 13th. And then I gave you this whole spiel. I was like, okay, no, I'm not going to do the 13th. I'm certainly not going to do the 15th, because the 13th and the 15th, everybody knows this, it's elementary. The 13th and the 15th are for side chicks. If you're the real girlfriend, you got to get the 14th. So, being that our day is going to be busy, I thought, let's squeeze in lunch. Why do you have an issue with that?
I have an issue with that because there is nothing, absolutely zero romance in lunch, period, point blank. There's nothing sexy about taking a girl to lunch. That's friend zone. So if you want to be friends, if that's what you're trying to tell me, that you only like me as a friend, then so be it. Let's go to lunch. Let's go get coffee or something like that. during the day. But romance is evening, dinner, drinks, whatever. That's romantic. Not let's go to Panera. Let's go to.
Okay, that's not what I said. Okay, don't lie to the people.
But I'm just saying that when we're talking about dating, when we're talking about romance is in the evening and dinner, candles, things of that nature. Not during the day where there's just nothing sexy about that at all.
But I wasn't trying to say like let's only go to lunch. I love you so much that I wanted to squeeze in as much time as I could with you, because again, I have you at my disposal for the first time in like never at lunchtime. And so I wanted, maybe I'm being greedy, but I wanted lunch and dinner. It didn't have to be a crazy big dinner, but I just, I wanted to do something in the evening.
And I do want to touch on, I did hear you, and I do want to touch on the 13th and the 15th when it comes to Valentine's Day. I get and I understand that that's for the side chicks. And I think
well, then why were you trying to offer that to me?
Because we're in a different situation.
Rude.
We're in a completely different situation. And this is the reason why I tell people that there's a difference between the attraction phase, the dating phase, and the relationship phase. You and I are clearly in a relationship. And you're looking at what people do when they are dating. That's what typically happens. If you're concerned with me cheating, and you think that you truly are the side chick, and there's someone else that I don't know what to tell you. You have to be the best. You have to be the best treated.
It's
side
not
chick
that
in
I think that you're cheating
of history.
I don't think that you're cheating, and I'm not concerned with the fact that you may consider me a side chick. I think we're past that point now where I know that I'm not a side chick. But what's the world gonna think? You take me out on February 13th, I'm looking smashing, I'm wearing my red dress or whatever, and we're at a restaurant, and it's clearly our Valentine's Day setup, and everyone else is gonna be looking at me like, she thinks she's special. I don't want that.
All right, and I don't want crowded, overpriced meals on a day that is special to us. However, people restaurants are taking advantage of people and taking advantage of couples because they know that the guys will pay extra money, extra dollars.
So what's our compromise here? What are we going to do? Are we doing something tonight, or are we doing the traditional, what I want, February 14th, Valentine's dinner?
Well, this is where the compromise is.
Is that why I've been getting these gifts?
Every day is Valentine's Day.
Oh, so that's why I've been getting these little gifts every day.
Every single day is Valentine's Day.
Well, you're sweet. I appreciate all of the gifts. Thank you very much. I'm looking at my tulips right now, and they're just starting to bloom. And I got to put more water in there, though. But yes, they're beautiful. They're pink and purple. And yeah, just beautiful. And they smell really good, too. So thanks again, Bill.
You're welcome.
So another thing that's on my mind when it comes to Valentine's Day, well, let me ask you this. What's the one thing that we all anticipate on Valentine's Day when it comes to the social media world? What do we all know is going to come, and we just can't wait to see how it happens on social media? You log into your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, and it's proposal time. Everybody's getting proposed to. I don't know what it is. Well, I do know what it is. Valentine's Day is supposed to be the most romantic day of the year. So that's when I guess men get that itch to, go ahead and ask the girl of their dreams.
I guess it has nothing to do with them getting their tax refunds, right?
Well, it is tax refund season. There's that too. And so, I mean, shout out to people who use their tax refunds for engagement rings, because, I mean, what else are you going to use it for? But I think it's just funny how, like, we can literally sit back and just anticipate by the end of the night, tomorrow night, I guarantee you at least 3 people on your timeline will have been proposed to. There will be pictures of, I said yes, the hand with the ring. We've seen it. We've done it. Well, not me. But I was reading an article recently that talked about 6 rules. Should men be required to follow these 6 proposal rules? And it was an article on xonicole.com. And
so just, before you even go there, and if the listeners have not picked up on this, I am anti-rules when it comes to dating.
You are extremely stubborn.
I'm not only stubborn, like, I have a very firm belief in keeping things as natural as they can be. Like, why put people into like some sort of box, into some sort of rule, 90-day rule, this rule that? Like, that's not how things are supposed to be. And now we have engagement rules.
Yeah,
there's rules to be set up with engagement. I thought you just get down on one knee and just show a ring and like call it a day.
Well, so it starts out by saying, if you were to ask a millennial woman how she would like for her proposal to go, the answers would probably vary from a small intimate affair with no spectators to a big blown out halftime show proposal that goes viral. Example, Kim Kardashian, Kanye, the big, renting out the baseball stadium, that whole deal. In this day and age where your next move could make you a social media sensation, the ante has been upped for men to put their best foot forward when asking a woman's hand in marriage. But according to a meme that has been circulating, most women don't need a lot. So look, guess what? The bottom line is women aren't as over the top as you may think that they are. They would just like for their men to follow these 6 rules.
Not over the top, but there's some rules that we need to follow.
It's just 6 rules. Come on.
Not over the top.
It's just 6 rules.
Go ahead.
So number 1, ask for my parents' blessing. I think that's pretty straightforward.
That's not a rule. That's what should happen.
It's a rule.
It's not a rule.
It's something that you need to stick to.
No,
and abide by.
It is, but that's not a rule. That's just the right thing to do.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Yes. Number 1, ask for my parents' blessing. Number 2, make it a complete surprise. So don't be dropping no hints. Just do it when you're going to do it.
These rules are stupid, but go ahead.
Can I continue, please?
Let me guess. Let me guess what number 3 is. Show her a ring. Like, come on.
Okay, number 3. Number 3 is actually pretty stupid.
Okay.
It's actually the stupidest one on this list.
All right.
Number 3, use my full name.
Okay.
So when you get down on one knee, you're gonna think, Sasha Ann Simons.
No. Sasha Ann Sharice Simons.
Throw in the middle name. Number 4, get down on one knee. Isn't that what you just said?
Yeah.
Number 4 is get down on one knee.
Who wrote this article? Someone's just desperate for an article.
Anyway, so yeah, but that sometimes you kind of have to put that out there, because some people will just like roll over in bed and just be like, hey baby.
Here's the thing. All right, so this is the reason why I don't believe in rules. If you listen to some of the things that I teach, or other people like myself teach, I don't want to make it all about me. If you knew how to select, attract, court, and get into a relationship with a gentleman, this stuff would happen naturally anyway. You wouldn't even have to worry about some rules or anything. Right.
I mean, these articles are pretty crazy.
Right.
Number 5, have someone catch it on camera. Okay, now that's that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna need that. I need the moment captured, like, no, because when you're in the here's what I'm thinking. When you're in the moment, like, it's hard for you. You're not going to know what it looked like, and I imagine that it all goes really quickly, and it's going to be difficult to. Afterwards, you're going to want to know what happened. You're going to want to know everything. You want to see everybody else's reaction. You want to see your reaction. You want to see exactly how he did it, and you want to see how you responded. Were you crying? Were you bawling? Were you doing the ugly cry? Were you just want to see the whole the entire moment once again.
I don't disagree. However, once again, this is just the basics of proposing to someone. This is like writing this article and hearing you read this article is like someone saying, if you're planning a birthday party, bring a birthday cake. Like, that's not a rule. That's just what you do.
Well,
make sure you bring candles, and don't forget the lighter. Like, what are you talking about?
Right. So I just think of like proposals that I've been a part of. My cousin did a very sweet proposal to his girlfriend, now fiance, last summer in New York City, and that was sweet. We were at a restaurant, and close friends and family were there, and it was her birthday actually. So he paired it up with her birthday, and we all kind of showed up. I was there. I was a complete surprise because she had no idea that I was going to travel down to be part of the moment, and I think it was nice. We all, of course, the first thing we do is we whip out our phone cameras, and
so someone took pictures.
A bunch of us took pictures.
Did
and
he get
video.
down on one knee?
He did get down on one knee. She did cry. She was surprised.
Did he ask for her hand? Did he ask for permission?
Yeah, he asked. I don't know what he said. It was so loud. Everybody was. The minute he see, here's what happens: is the minute the guy goes down on one knee, takes out the ring, goes down on one knee. Everybody in the room. If you have one of those proposals where you invite family and friends, it starts to get loud immediately because everyone's like, "Oh my god! Oh my god! What are you gonna do? Oh my god!" Yeah, you know. So it's like all of a sudden it's wild. So. Actually, I didn't hear what he said. He could have just been like, "Marry me," like. But I'm sure he put it together much more eloquently.
Right.
I do remember she didn't say yes. She said, "Of course," and I thought that was so cute because it was so natural and it was beautiful. And then we were all able to share our video footage with her.
My point is that he was able to get all this done without reading this article.
Oh, of course.
Without knowing
the
any
article
rules.
came out this week, silly. But yes, you're right. He didn't go through any rules and anything specific like that. He, got prepared. He got the ring, and I mean, obviously, that's the most important part of the day. And he
No, it's not. The most important part is her saying yes.
Well, yeah, for the guy, it is. Yeah, I guess that's the part that has you sweating. But he was prepared, is my point, and he spoke to who he wanted to speak to, as far as inviting them out, and we all, we made it. We all helped him make it happen, and that was a beautiful moment. So. This leads me to number 6, the final rule on the list of, how to make sure that your man proposes to you right. Number 6 is, make sure my nails are done. Yes. And I'm looking at you. I'm looking at your big hazel eyes right now, and I'm telling you, make sure my nails are done.
Listen. That's already a stressful day.
It's key.
You, at some point in time, you got to take responsibility for your own nails. And
so you're saying I got to walk around with my nails done all the time?
Yeah, I mean, you should anyway. I mean, maintain yourself.
As I bite my nails right now.
I mean, if I'm sitting here telling you that every day is Valentine's Day, I mean, any day could be a proposal day. So just be prepared.
Right, that is very true.
Yep.
As we know, sometimes all that glitters ain't gold.
Yep. Not every relationship is a good relationship.
Not every relationship is a good relationship.
Not every relationship is a healthy relationship.
You're right.
So unfortunately, we have to talk about some of the downsides to some negative relationships, some unhealthy relationships, cheating relationships, and things that maybe you should consider walking away from.
So by popular demand, we're talking about cheating today. First question for you, Matt. Why do people cheat? I know it's a loaded one, but do your best to tackle that for us.
There's more to cheating than what I could give in one episode. But overall, if there was like a couple of themes, one of the main themes is insecurity. So if I were going to talk about a gentleman who is cheating, actually I shouldn't say gentleman, because if you're cheating, you're not a gentleman. A man who's cheating, a lot of times he might be insecure about maybe his body, maybe if he's wondering if he can still get a young girl or still pick up girls. He's wondering if he's still attractive to the opposite sex, things of that nature. So he'll cheat. He'll go out, and it starts out with just flirting with a girl, then it'll go from that to getting her phone number. Maybe it's someone at work that he's working with a lot. Most of the time when someone's cheating, it's someone within close proximity. So I want to put that out there as well. A lot of times people are afraid of the one-night stands. I'm not saying that will never happen, but it's unlikely. More than likely it's someone at work, it's a friend, it's someone that you probably know, unfortunately, which makes it sting even more. So it starts out with casual flirting, and that person is so insecure that they continue, and it goes from that to exchanging numbers to hanging out to next thing you know, it's a full-out relationship, full-out affair. So men, it's typically an insecurity about some sort of physical attribute, and they're looking for confirmation. Women, it's typically emotional. Women cheat for emotional reasons. The other reasons why people cheat is that they're unfulfilled in their relationship in some way, somehow. So women might be looking, I just mentioned they might be looking for something emotional, or for both men and women, they might be unfulfilled sexually, they might be unfulfilled emotionally, and so they're looking for that from, they're craving it, so to speak, and they find that in someone else. So you hear women talk a lot about wanting compliments from the guy that they're seeing, from the person that they're in a relationship with. Well, if they're not getting that bucket full, so to speak, from the person that they're with, and they hear it from Slick Willie at work, on a consistent basis.
Slick Willie.
Long story short, one thing can lead to another. It starts out with one small compliment. It's the little foxes that spoil the vine, so to speak. It starts out with something very, very small and something very possibly innocent, and then it leads to a note. Slick Willie realizes that it's
Can we
doing
stop calling him
something.
Slick Willie, please?
What would you like to?
I'm gonna laugh every time you say that.
And so, anyway,
I'm picturing somebody in some like pimp hat and fur coat.
that's what I'm trying to get you to picture.
Slick Willie.
And so, long story short, one thing leads to another, and it ends up into a full-out affair because the person is just unfulfilled in the relationship. And the third reason why people cheat is that they see the end is near. So they see that the writing's on the wall. This isn't going to last, or maybe they might even feel like it's not going to last, and it's more like self-sabotaging behavior. So they think that they don't see a future with this person, and rather than just breaking up with the person, so someone who is not insecure would break up with the person and move on, right? But when we go back to insecurity, people at times feel like they have to have someone in their life. So what they'll do is they'll start lining up the replacements. They'll start lining up the people that were just hanging out and just as friends.
Right.
The ones that they were just chatting to, and it was supposed to be innocent. Well, those are the same people that typically, not saying every single time, but typically people are like, oh, just one thing led to another, and here we are now.
Mm-hmm. Right, because a lot of times in relationships, and we've all said it, we all know it, a lot of times in relationships, when a couple does actually break up, it's been over for a while. So what you're saying is sometimes one party in the relationship sees that, and they've already mentally and sometimes physically moved on with someone else.
Right.
So rather than stepping up and saying, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore,
right,
I think that's so cowardly. Like, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore, and break up. And then you're free to go and see who you want to see. I don't understand the logic of sneaking around. Like, why would you want to purposely sneak around and not be able to be out and be free with the person you clearly want to be with?
What's so troubling about an insecurity, and they would rather have someone in their life and have someone to a rebound, so to speak, and know that they're not going to be alone, and justify the breakup or the potential breakup, knowing that they have someone else that they can go to, rather than being alone for any period of time. And so that's what's so dangerous about insecurity, and the thing about the fact that the not having a future, or going, coming close to an end or a breakup. The danger about that is that one person can think that the end is coming, and the other person may not.
They could be completely
one
still
person
happy.
might, just like, we're going through it, but
we'll get through it.
We'll work through it, and it's not that big of a deal to the other person, and to the person that's insecure is going through self-sabotaging behavior. So they decide that they are going to find what they need elsewhere, and they're going to find those warm and fuzzies elsewhere. And that's the other thing, especially with women. With this one, they crave like the newness of relationships, right? So, the first date and the exchanging of numbers, and all the warm and fuzzies that you get at the beginning of a relationship.
They crave all the things that men do at the beginning of relationships.
Right.
Okay.
So you'll typically see this if a guy stops courting his woman the way that he's supposed to. One of the main reasons why I tell guys, never allow for the courtship to end. Because if you do, it does leave that door open for a woman to potentially step out to someone who is providing that beginning courtship stage warm and fuzzies that they get.
Right.
And so it leaves it open for more of that spiciness that they're looking for.
So in the situation where, and we touched on this in the last episode, where a partner is being falsely accused of cheating. So they're not cheating, but they're constantly. Our email last episode was from a listener who her partner was constantly accusing her of stepping out. So to enable that behavior, she was allowing him to check her phone and grill her and ask her a ton of questions. At that point, she'd kind of just reached her wit's end, where she was like, I comply and I do what he wants all the time. So why is he still telling me that, or sniffing me when I come in the door and accusing me of this stuff? So how do you, just quickly, just recap for us how you handle when you're being falsely accused?
You have to stop enabling the behavior. So our first reaction may not be the best response. So our reaction might be, I have nothing to hide, go through my phone, go through my computer, go do this, go do that. And, and you'll see that I'm trustworthy. Well, that also enables the behavior. So the person that is struggling with an insecurity, it actually makes their thoughts, their thought pattern worse by you allowing for that. So you have to set some boundaries. You have to talk to them, first of all. Have communication and build from trust. Because if you don't have trust, your relationship isn't going anywhere. If you don't have trust, it leads to a breakdown in communication, leads to, breakdown in obviously the overall relationship. You have to understand why that person feels the way that they do, and it might be a question that you even ask them. What is it that that
what am I giving off?
Right, what's going on that makes you feel that way? It's not a good, appropriate time to ask that in the middle of one of their meltdowns, and they're asking and they're accusing, because they'll just get defensive.
Right.
But if you have a time set aside, and you're out or things are going good and they're in a good mood, it might be a good time to bring it up and just kind of talk to them and be an adult. Talk to them and call them out on the behavior. So
communication, basically.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So moving on, and we promised this in the last episode, this is a different beast.
Mm-hmm.
When a couple... When there's been infidelity all throughout this relationship, and we know a lot of people are facing this, where there's been repeated cheating. He's cheated, she's cheated.
Right.
You stay. Each time you find out, you guys work it out and you stay. And then maybe you get to a point where, you finally hit this moment where you're saying, okay, we're going to work on this, and this is us. We're sticking together. And you go through a long patch of, nobody's cheating, everything is great, the kids are great, the family setting is great, and then one person cheats again. Is it ever possible to, after habitual cheating in a relationship, to truly stop? How do you handle that situation? And then if you are the partner that is then cheated on again, after you guys come to this agreement, if then he betrays you or she betrays you, and years later goes back into the same pattern again, should you just call it quits at that point?
I never tell people what they should and shouldn't do. Every situation is different. It is very, very difficult to get through. What I typically tell people is that if you're trying to decide if you should take that person back, you need to actually look at all the work that it's going to take to put into the relationship to make it work before making that decision, because you're going to be looking at years of rebuilding trust and rebuilding and reestablishing new behaviors, new boundaries, and there's going to be a lot of emotion there, a lot of negative emotion, and if both people are not willing to put in extensive work, it's going to be near impossible. I'm not going to say impossible, but it's going to be very, very difficult. Both people have to put in work. Both people have to be completely in and completely honest, and more than likely need, therapists like myself to help them work through communication. And the person who was cheated on actually has to do a lot of work as well. Yeah. And they have to own some of the responsibility, which is very difficult. It's not always on the other person. Yes, they might be dealing with some insecurity.
I think you need to say that again, because I think people might have missed that.
So when you're in a relationship and you have been cheated on, you have to own some of that responsibility. A, you didn't see it. B, there was something that was left unfulfilled in the relationship. And I know that this isn't common for people to actually place some responsibility on the person that's been cheated on, but it's real. Deal with it close to every single day. You have to take some ownership in that. And and that's what is very difficult for a lot of people to get over, is the fact that when they sit with someone like me, or when they hear some of the things that the other person was going through, knowing that they also hurt them, sometimes they're the ones that are not willing to change.
The person who has been cheated on.
The person who has been cheated on. They feel victim. Yes, you are a victim, not advocating for the person who has cheated at all. Completely wrong. However, if you want the relationship to work, the entire relationship has to change. The communication patterns, whatever beef that the person who was cheating, whatever unfulfilled desires that they have, maybe they feel like they're not getting enough sex. Maybe they feel like they're getting too much sex. Maybe they feel like
you don't spend time with them.
Right. There's a plethora.
Maybe they feel neglected.
Exactly. There's definitely some neglect there. There's definitely some insecurity there, and so it's a beast.
But cheating is not the answer.
Cheating is not the answer.
Right.
For sure.
So that I find that very interesting for the person to take, the person being cheated on to take some responsibility.
I need to say this as well.
Okay.
That's if you want to work things out. If you've been cheated on and you choose that you don't want to work things out, then don't even worry about
the
responsibility.
That point, it's
right.
Like,
exactly.
Boy bye or girl bye.
Yeah.
That's it. So then when you come to this understanding and you talk it through and after the please, baby, please, and the begging back and all that. And
wait, who's begging who back?
The person who cheated is begging the other person back, obviously, because they did something wrong.
It's not obvious, because I've seen it both ways.
Oh, well.
There's a lot of times where the person who has been cheated on is doing the begging, and that's the reality. They're like,
wow.
Well, why did you... just come home and, we'll work this out and this and that. That happens a lot more than what people might think.
Wow. Mind blown. Wow. So when they do come to that understanding, and, it seems to be going well for a period of time, and the cheater falls back into that habit, is that a time to just say, all right, this is just not working?
Once again, their decision. Because
people do, and then people stay for kids, right. And they say... I
don't advocate for staying in any type of relationship.
Don't stay for the kids. I can't stand people using that excuse.
Or any type of relationship. And you actually hit the nail on the head.
You're not doing the kids any... Newsflash? Breaking news. You are not doing the child or children any favors at all.
The reality is that you're actually not doing it for the children. You're doing it for yourself.
You don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want everybody to know what happened. You don't want everybody to know that your marriage failed or your relationship failed.
And you also don't want to be alone. You also don't want to start over. And those are the actual reasons why people stay. They're not staying because of the children. They could stay because they're still in love and they want to work things out and they believe they have a value in working things out. But they're not really doing it for the children. Because of what I do, I try to empower people to have their own thoughts and choose their own life, so to speak. Even though my title is a relationship and dating coach or expert therapist, however you want to put it, my main thing is to empower people and to help people develop more of a peak performance and make their own decisions. So going to your question about, should that person stay, that's up to them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that anything is impossible to work out. I will tell you that if there's a pattern, once again, it's going to be near impossible. If you decide to stay, then you're basically saying that you are okay with that behavior, and you're okay with seeing that, and you're okay with that happening every couple of years or every year or however often that pattern is. So that's up to the person.
Yeah. Not
something I would advocate for, but that's their choice.
What about that relationship? I just thought of another question. That relationship where one person slipped up like one time, cheated. And I'm not trying to make it sound, I'm not trying to minimize it, but a relationship where, one time that you know of, let's just put it that way, and everything's been going well. Does that mean that couple has sort of figured it out? They've got it. They figured out what they needed to do to get past it. And, everybody's on the same page?
Not necessarily. Someone could have cheated and they just stopped the behavior and just never did it again, but that doesn't mean that everything's all good. No.
Yeah.
They could still be completely miserable in the relationship. This is the reason why consistent communication, and also when I say communication, people have to be able to feel comfortable in having difficult communication, hard things that the other person doesn't want to hear. A lot of times people are too flaky and are too wishy-washy and too passive when it comes to communication, and they're too worried about the other person's feelings. In a relationship, if you're saying that you're going to be with someone for the rest of your life, during your lifetime, you're going to have to talk about things that the other person does not want to hear. And I'm not saying necessarily all about cheating, but if the person has cheated and you're wondering if that person is now happy post-cheating, then there has to be communication there and they have to be open and honest about if they really are happy or if they're just going through the motions.
Does this now tarnish future relationships? So I move on, he moves on, and I've been cheated on in the past. Maybe I've been cheated on by multiple boyfriends. Mm-hmm. Am I just doomed at this point? Like, how can I then trust? How can I then start over, clean slate with the next guy, give him the benefit of the doubt that he's going to be faithful and he's going to be loyal? Or am I just going to be thinking that every guy is going to think the same way, every guy is going to act the same way, everybody's going to cheat on me?
It's critical that you start over. You can't allow for a new boyfriend or a new girlfriend to pay the price for a past boyfriend or girlfriend. You cannot allow it. If you broke up with that person, you left them, the point was to move on to something better. So why would you drag in all those that baggage into a new relationship and start the relationship with insecurity? Guess what? There's a reason why people habitually run into boyfriends and girlfriends who cheat. So they take baggage. First of all, they need to take responsibility for the type of person that they're attracting and the type of person that they're getting involved with. And they're not seeing certain red flags. When you're running into the same type of boyfriend, same type of girlfriend consistently, there's something wrong with you. You're attracting that person.
Right.
Going back to what we talked about attraction, you attract what you are, right? And if you're attracting people who are cheating, more than likely you have some insecurities about yourself.
Right.
So if you're insecure from a previous relationship because you've been cheated on, and then you take that insecurity into a new relationship, what's something I always say? What you fear will happen.
Right.
Right? What you look at will change. So if you fear that someone's going to cheat on you because you've been cheated on in the past, you're going to be looking for that and eventually drive that person away. Was what we talked about in that last.
Right. That was I'm thinking of our listener from last episode.
So what you fear will happen. What you look at will change. So if you look at the fact that you're insecure and that you're dragging around baggage from previous relationships, you'll change it, right? And you won't allow for those insecurities and for that baggage to be carried around to new relationships, and then you can start fresh.
So if you're cheated on and you decide to stay, does that mean that you now get a free pass because they cheated on you?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Some people think that, though. Right. I'm joking around, but some people really think that. Like, maybe they even work out those silly arrangements within the relationship.
Well, if they work it out between the two of them, I mean, that I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to do it. You know,
I'm going to sit here and tell you not to do it. That's silly.
But every relationship is set up different. Right, everyone has their different boundaries, and I do think it's silly. And the reason why I say that is because if you feel like you need revenge, so to speak, then you're really not over it, and it's gonna come up again, and your relationship's ruined anyway. But so no revenge cheating.
No free pass, no revenge cheating.
Unless you guys are okay with it. If both people are okay with it, then
I guess to each his own.
Yeah.
So we're talking about cheating, and we're talking about a partner being busted for cheating. What is a way, and you alluded to this in the last episode, so I want to make sure that you get back to this. What is a way for you to find out that your partner is cheating? You mentioned that there are ways to do this without even digging.
Right.
So you don't have to actually dig for the dirt. You don't have to hire the investigative, team.
No,
you don't
absolutely
have to,
not.
right? Cheater style, right? Investigative team. You don't have to do the checking through the phone and the calling the other girl or calling the other man.
As a matter of fact, let me take this a step further. Not only do you not have to, don't do it. going back to what we talked about in the previous episode and with insecurities, you're going to now become that insecure person by doing all the digging. And in turn, because you have a fear, what you fear will happen, right? You're going to start pushing that person away.
But I've talked to people, the digging, to friends that I've talked to and acquaintances that I've talked to, the digging, it almost seems like an addictive thing. Like once you start checking his phone, you know, he gets up, he goes to the bathroom to shower, and you're checking his phone. And then later on he goes to the kitchen, you're checking again. Maybe you started to catch something the first time, and then, you know, you're waiting. You can't wait to that moment where he gets up again and he walks away from his phone so you can read the rest of the message. And it just goes and it snowballs and you're finding stuff because you're digging.
Which is the reason why I say don't dig, because it turns into a behavior and an insecurity that is very difficult to break. You're opening up Pandora's box. Don't do it under any circumstances. Do not dig through people's phones. Do not dig through people's belongings. I can't describe to you how unhealthy the behavior is, not only for the relationship, but for you. Even if you do decide to move on, it's going to be difficult for you to start breaking those habits. And you're always going to look for something, and even if there's nothing there, you're mentally going to make something be there. You're going to make something out of nothing, and you're also going to push that person away.
I think sometimes they're calling your bluff, though, because I can picture the guy that's like, oh, go ahead, check my phone then. Go, just check my phone. Like, what? I'm not doing anything. Just check it. Like, come on. And then you're thinking, okay, no, I'm being silly. You know, they're kind of doing it to, it's like reverse psychology kind of thing. They're doing it to make you go, oh, okay, I guess I was being crazy. Like, well, let me not check his phone.
If someone is a habitual,
he's getting away with murder.
If someone's a habitual cheater, then they're going to erase their phone. There's too many apps. This is the other reason. There's too many ways to get away with it these days, especially with Snapchat, with things like that, with things that disappear.
Right. Like Snapchat messages go away after they're sent, basically.
Right. And it's unnecessary. Like, you really don't have to do digging. To be perfectly honest with you, and some of the things that I'll go through and show you the reasons why you don't need to dig, and some signs that someone's cheating, those will be more apparent than any of the digging that you can do anyway.
So why don't you get into it? So tell us, what should we look for? How can we get closer to what we want to know without, again, being, Inspector Gadget? So
I need to give a disclaimer. When I give you these, don't look at one of these and like, oh, my boyfriend or my girlfriend does this, oh, they're cheating, and go crazy. Right. Okay? Yeah. It's a combination of, like, let's say 3 to 5 of these. Okay? So don't start freaking out. If for example, number 1 is them getting really defensive about electronics. No, you should not be going through their things, right? However, you will notice a big difference in A, how often they're on, and B, how defensive they are. So if the phone rings and you're laying next to the phone, where maybe you used to just grab the phone, toss it to them, well, now they're scrambling to it, trying to get to it before you see who's actually calling, right? Even if they are using some sort of app, they're going to be very defensive about their possessions. They're going to be defensive about you getting on the computer. They want to make sure that everything's clear, and there's always going to be like some sort of insecurity there. And they take the phone with them to the bathroom. Yeah. They take the phone with them everywhere they go. And if they happen to leave it behind, which they will do from time to time, they're going to be scrambling trying to get to it. So that's number 1. Right. Now, with that being said, don't go through their phone. Right. Even if it is, just don't go through it.
Number 2,
body changes and body images. So they're in the gym all the time, and they're working out. Not saying that someone that wants to lose weight is cheating. However, the big key is that they lose all this weight. They're doing all these different body things, and you get no benefits of it. So one of the best things about working out is that you feel good about yourself, and your sex drive increases, right? So increase in working out, but not so much an increase in the bedroom, right? Or for a woman, when a woman feels good about her body, once again, sex drive increases. But you don't see any new lingerie or anything like that, or at least for you.
So she's doing she's getting herself all pretty again.
Right.
New haircut, but maybe it's the way somebody else likes it, right? But you're not seeing what should follow through with that. And
she's not checking in with you like, oh, how do I look? This and that. Like, she could care less what you think.
Because there's somebody else that she's checking
and vice versa for a guy. There's no him checking himself out in front of the mirror like, oh, have you noticed this? Have you noticed that? He could care less what you think because someone else has already told him and is already telling him, oh, you look great, baby. Oh, your arms are starting to look really nice. Da, da, da. So your body changes or style change.
Yeah.
That you don't. The key is that you don't see any benefit from.
Right. Okay. That's
right.
Key.
They're not looking for your approval, or they're not asking you like, maybe they have a new cologne, but they're not asking you like, what do you think of this new cologne? What do you think of this new perfume? They could care less what you think. They just know that it's for somebody else, right?
All right, next.
Change in sex drive. So we talked a little bit about the change in appearance. So change in sex drive, either going way up or way down. Okay. The reason why at times it can go way up is that they're trying to kind of cover their tracks, so to speak, so they know that they're doing their dirt, and
all of a sudden they want it all the time from you. And you're like, ooh, baby, what's going on?
Right.
Not knowing that, it's just they're trying to...
Right. And also, with that being said, you start noticing, I don't want to say like a lot of different styles, but, just things that maybe you never used to do. Like different positions that just are like, what are you doing? Like, where are we going with this?
Where did you learn this from?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it definitely came from outside.
Right.
All right. Next.
So once again, not to say that you always should spice up the bedroom. However, the combination of these things, is where you should be looking.
And if you're spicing up the bedroom, usually as a couple, you would have talked about something.
Right.
So if something new is being introduced, it's going to be something that you had already talked about. Like, yeah, we should try that. So if it's coming from left field, I think that's a dead giveaway.
Dead giveaway. Or if he's a one pump chump and all of a sudden he's pulling all nighters, dead giveaway.
One pump chump.
Come on, you've heard that one before.
Oh God, you and your saying. I can't. Next,
not inviting you out to group activities. So guys' nights where you used to be invited, or girls' nights where you used to be invited, all of a sudden they don't want you around. That's A, because that's their alibi. They're hanging out with so and so. Let's just be in so and so tonight. And once again, people should hang out with their friends, their girlfriends. That's part of a healthy relationship. But when you stop getting the invites all the time, and also those girls' nights and those guys' nights increase.
Right. They're going out every weekend now.
Every weekend. Because if you think about a relationship, you want to start spending more time with that person. So it might start out with a girls' night every week or every other weekend, then it'll increase to every week, then twice a week all of a sudden. And you're not getting invites to any of these?
Yeah.
That's a big sign.
Yeah.
The other thing is that there's no evidence of them going out.
No.
You think about, especially this day and age with social media, there's no pictures, there's no tags, there's no nothing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? The stories are very strange when you're with the boys, because when you're a couple, you definitely should be hanging. My friends are now also your friends.
True.
Right? Your friends are now my friends. Right? So when they're all together, when you do see everyone, and people's stories aren't lining up, or the stories are just kind of weird, and let the stories just be natural. Don't just start like, oh, how was the other night, and then trying to catch people on the line. Just have casual conversations. You'll see. Everything you need will pop up. Everything that's in the dark will come to the light.
Of course, it always does.
Right.
Next.
This is a biggie. No more dreaded conversations. So all those conversations that you hate, the questions of where are we going with this? What's going on? All the things that are the changes that person wants you to make. Like, can you be more like this? Can you be more romantic? Can you do this in the bedroom? Stop. Those conversations that you hate, the ones that, can you call me more? Can you do this no more? Can you do this a little bit more? Stop all of a sudden.
Because they don't even care to ask anymore.
Right.
They don't care for you to make those changes anymore. Because someone else is fulfilling those needs.
Exactly.
Okay.
Which leads to the next one. Some of these are go hand in hand. So the dreaded conversations stop and the person becomes cold and distant.
Right.
So
that's a big one. We deal with that a lot.
They're very aloof. A lot of times they might be thinking about the other person while they're with you. They're thinking about trying to cover up their tracks. They're just kind of pulled away. Kind of like every day seems like they've had a long day at work and just not talkative and don't really care to. Because
when they finally arrive at home, you never know. They're probably sitting in the car for a few minutes like, okay, let me get in gear. I'm at home now because they've arrived at the place that they don't. Love doesn't live there anymore.
Exactly.
And so, it's just like a chore now to go home, where maybe the rest of their day they were at work and texting their secret significant other and texting them and having a great time. And then it's like, oh, great, I got to go back home to her, or vice versa. So they come in with an attitude. They come in like not talking.
Right. And it's not even so much an attitude. Like, you would even prefer the attitude. It's literally cold and distant, like just loveless. Right. Which leads to the next one is time. Their time is mismanaged. Their time patterns are a little bit different. So where the person might have come home every day and taken the dog for a walk, it's now replaced with a shower, or they are always late to work, late coming home from work consistently. Because everyone knows that you're going to have to spend extra time at work on, for different projects or for a time period. But typically, after you've been with someone for a while, you kind of know those patterns. I know when you're going to be late coming home from work, because I know that certain things or certain events come up, certain whatever. With this, it's more of like an everyday pattern or a consistent pattern, mismanaging time, but also. And rather than looking for time spent together, you're looking for time spent apart. Okay. A big one. So rather than like, oh, let's go to the movies this week. Oh, let's do this. Like every time you ask them to do something, they're trying to find reasons not to. They're always the one wanting to go to the store. They're always looking for ways out. Always
offering to run the errands. Yeah, that's a good one.
Always wanting time to themselves.
That's a good one.
Right. And more than everyone needs time to themselves, but when it starts to get excessive and they always want time to themselves and looking for ways out rather than ways in, big one.
Yeah.
Right. Which leads me to my next one, which is, this is one of the biggest ways to figure out if someone is cheating, is literally just talk to friends.
Talk to their friends?
Talk to your friends.
Talk to your mutual friends?
Talk to your friends. Talk to safe people. Talking to friends is one of the best ways to find out if your significant other is cheating. And I don't mean talking to them digging. I mean just having a conversation with them about your relationship. I can't tell you how many times that someone will come in and they're talking to me about their relationship, and they're describing some of the things that I just mentioned. And I'll say, it sounds like they're cheating. And they literally burst out into tears.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why is that typically most people kind of have a hunch. And when you talk to a friend and they're able to confirm what you're thinking.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right, because we have this certain level of what is it, intuition?
Right.
And that gut feeling, women talk about it all the time, that gut feeling. They just want proof.
Right.
They just want, that's why they dig, and that's why, which is all the stuff that we just talked about. But when someone else from the outside can sort of say it back to you, that's when you're like, oh my God, it really is happening.
Right. People on the outside typically are able to see things a little more clear than you are. That happens with everyone, because when you're in it, I'm going to give you an analogy real quick. When you're in it, like a frog, I don't know if I've used this on the podcast or not. If you put a frog in a pot of boiling water, what would he do?
Try to jump out.
He'll jump out immediately.
Yeah.
But if you put in a frog in a pot of cold water and turn the heat on, he'll boil to death. He'll just sit there and allow for the water to get hotter and hotter and hotter, and he'll eventually just boil to death. And it's very similar to this, and this is the reason why you have to talk to friends and talk to people who are on the outside, because you've been in it so long that maybe you're not recognizing all the signs.
Okay. You're just immersed in the situation.
Right. And you're like that frog that you turned the heat on while he was in the water. And you possibly have become very stagnant in the relationship. And you've just kind of let a lot of these things happen and let a lot of things go, and let yourself go. And as things continue to go, you're just that frog boiling in water, just sitting there, everything's warm, just sitting there in a jacuzzi and not realizing that you're about to die.
Wow. Well, as we can see, the topic of cheating obviously entails so much.
Yes.
There's so much to talk about, so much to unpack.
Probably going to need to make a part 2.
We might have to make a part 2. You guys let us know. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Crazy Love Stories Podcast. You can find us there, of course. Let us know how you like this episode. Shout out to all of the people who have been reaching out to us. I made a Facebook post about this the other day. All the people who have been reaching out to us, telling us how different episodes have touched their lives in different ways, all the different things they've been learning from Matt. It's been fantastic. We both read each and every one of the emails, the texts, the messages, and we want to say thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. And if there's things that you don't like, we're not someone who just wants to hear all the good things, even though the good things...
Tell us what you disagree with.
The good things are great, but the bad things help us grow.
Challenge us. Tell us what you disagree with. Again, all it will do is just birth another episode, another reason to continue the conversation. So continuing the conversation on cheating is what we're actually going to do tomorrow. That is Tuesday, February 14th, aka Valentine's Day. We will actually be making a special appearance on a radio talk show. It's called Our Voice Talk Radio with host Kenny Jean. You can listen on wayofm.org. That's WAYOFM.org. It's from 10 to 11 a.m. And it's 104.3 if you are in Rochester, New York. So it is a station local to Rochester, New York. But for those people outside of Rochester, New York, it is at wayofm.org from 10 to 11. You can listen live on Valentine's Day. Otherwise, you can find it all online and on Facebook at Our Voice Talk Radio. So we'll be talking about cheating, among other things. Maybe a little bit more about our love story, so we're looking forward to that. And we will also, once it's up online, we will be sure to share it on our social media pages as well.
Like the music you're hearing? Check out Jordan J. River on SoundCloud. Our cover art was designed by Kashta Media. Listen to Crazy Love Stories on SoundCloud and iTunes. And don't forget to subscribe.
So thanks for checking us out. Another week, another Monday, another smashing podcast.
Yep.
Yep.